The relationship of Naruto and Sasuke is a very interesting topic. On the surface it may seem relatively easy to comprehend, and for the most part that's because it is. Not just with this dynamic, but with the entirety of the series in general, Kishimoto does a great job of not forcing the reader or watcher to understand every undertone of the series, having them critically analyze every detail and look for deeper meaning of different aspects throughout the story. However, as of late, I've seen more and more people trying their hand at diving deeper into this particular relationship and dissecting the true nature of it. On one end, I've seen a lot of people listing a number of reasons why the relationship between Naruto and Sasuke is that of the greatest rivalry in all of anime manga history. And on the other end, I've surprisingly seen a large amount of people claim that they don't even have a rivalry to begin with. Now what I'm about to say may sound questionable, but to be completely fair, there's a basis for both of these conclusions. Even so, the truth of the relationship is far more complex than either of these two answers, and is more of a sum of multiple different characteristics. And so today's video will be dedicated to taking a look at the connection of Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha to better grasp the true colors of their bond. As the main character of the story, a loner, an outcast, and one who had remained unacknowledged and shunned by his village for the better part of his life, Naruto Uzumaki sought to become the Hokage. The path to fulfilling this goal was without a doubt one that would be sown with tribulation and hardship. Nevertheless, he insisted on the idea of doing whatever was necessary to reach this goal of his, even if his idea of what it truly meant to be Hokage was severely off the mark at this point. On this path to power and acknowledgement, he goes on to gain many allies and adversaries, one of the earliest being the one who would prove to be the greatest of both, Sasuke Uchiha. Very similar to Naruto, Sasuke was isolated and alone. He struggled to find purpose and went through insane levels of inner conflict. Though unlike our main character, he wasn't looked down upon in the slightest. On the contrary, he was praised for his genius as a growing shinobi, and many of his age group looked up to his skill. How could someone with such a high level of recognition ever feel lonely? The very idea of Sasuke feeling conflicted was something inconceivable to most. However, on the inside, Sasuke held more hatred than he knew how to deal with. Rather than being born alone, his greatest happiness, his friends and family of the Uchiha clan, were stripped from him and had their lives taken away by none other than the one he looked up to the most, his brother Itachi Uchiha. His period of grief and contemplation led him to his decision to chase the goal of killing his brother and avenging his clan once and for all, a goal that was at length one backed by a very immature and shallow mindset at this point, comparable to Naruto's goal of becoming Hokage. Through their shared experience of loneliness and gradual cooperation, the two, though they started out rough, eventually became the greatest of friends, and to that end, splendid rivals for one another. The two grew stronger in taking on missions together and facing strong opposition with every encounter. When they weren't busy with common enemies, they would look towards each other's backs with the goal of surpassing each other. There was friction, but it wasn't out of ill will. Instead, it was a shared interest to surpass one that would drive the other to newer and greater heights. The greatest example of this being before the tournament portion of the Chunin exams. Sakura was desperate to save Sasuke from the pain of fighting with his curse mark, and despite this, to gain the answer of whether he was truly strong or not, he wanted to face all of the new powerful people he was introduced to in order to prove himself, and the one he wanted to fight the most was none other than Naruto. This was truly the pinnacle of the healthy rivalry between Naruto and Sasuke. All this would seem to be leading up to the inevitable clash of the two young shinobi, at very least one that would abide by respectable and wholesome terms. This, however, would not be the case. We skip ahead. The training exams have ended. Sasuke's hatred grows ever stronger. As time passes in a leaf, and as he goes through a series of unfortunate circumstances, he becomes painfully aware of how far he is from accomplishing his goal, and how heavily he lacks the strength to do so. His judgment becomes clouded once more as it was long ago when he was a child who had lost everything. This hazy vision resulted in his hatred being thrust upon those closest to him. He became convinced that the only way to further his progress to his goal was to leave these days of peace and camaraderie behind, trekking on as a solitary avenger, and once leaving his last, strongest, and only bond hanging by a thread, that's exactly what he did. The once healthy rivalry of Naruto and Sasuke has come to an indefinite close. Again, we skip ahead, this time by 2 years. When Sasuke and Naruto would come across each other once again for the first time in years, the feeling of the relationship that the two had was completely different. After all this time, the first impression Naruto had of Sasuke is the same as that of when he left, a friend he could not manage to save. As for Sasuke, however, he saw Naruto in a far more insignificant light. He saw Naruto as a man who wasted his time chasing after the idea of saving a friend who couldn't care less about his existence, and in his eyes, someone who didn't need to be saved. At this point, Sasuke is more focused on one goal and one goal only, killing his brother. and things would remain like this for the vast majority of Shippuden. Slowly but surely, he commits a number of heinous acts and learns crucial information that would fuel his descent further down the path of darkness, having his final battle with Itachi, learning the truth of his brother's sacrifices, aligning with the Akatsuki, and attempting to capture the Eight Tails, killing the 2B 6th Hokage Danzo, throwing the 5 Kage Summon into chaos, and of course, plotting to destroy the Leaf Village out of revenge. The amount of focus he has for accomplishing his own goals and lack of any sort of worry for Naruto is something completely uncharacteristic of any normal rivalry. Even when queried about his former friend's strength surpassing his own by Zetsu after Pain's defeat, the thought that goes into this situation is negligible for Sasuke. He even prioritizes the death of all the Kage above Naruto's current circumstances. It isn't until the next encounter that the two have that Naruto becomes someone worth Sasuke's effort of thinking about. This is because for all that Sasuke went through, Naruto went through almost, if not just as much. He went through things that would change his mindset and lead him to grow as a person who could understand Sasuke, and equally, a person who Sasuke could understand and whose words would reach Sasuke from the darkness he stood in. Naruto has now become an obstacle standing in the way of Sasuke's new goal of destroying the Leaf, and also someone he needed to surpass to do so. Thanks to this encounter, ever so slowly, the flames of the once explosive rivalry slowly began to rekindle. It's the 4th Great Ninja War. Sasuke's epic team-up with Itachi and Kabuto has been decided, and his brother leaves him with pivotal advice, reassuring him that no matter what path Sasuke decides to take, he will always be on his side supporting his decisions. This leads Sasuke to contemplate even further, and eventually question if what he's doing is correct, as well as what actions he should take next. What makes this village so special? Why did Itachi risk so much to protect it? What is the legacy behind this village and its people? And are they truly worth protecting? Sasuke now has a number of inquiries that he alone cannot answer, and so he seeks help from Orochimaru in reviving the forefathers of the Leaf to get his answers directly from them. Upon hearing their responses, he gives his answer and chooses to assist the Leaf Village, so as to not waste his brother's valiant and fatal effort of protecting the village and its people. As they arrive on the battlefield, Naruto and Sasuke encounter each other once again. Their attitudes and how they feel about each other seems to have changed once more. They seem to be completely different people in each other's presence, a testimony to how far they've come and how much they've matured. They now fight for the same thing, and at this point have no reason for being at each other's necks or surpassing each other. For now, as long as they have the strength to end this war, that is all that matters to them. Very reminiscent of their past behavior when they were rivals who fought side by side for the greater good when need be. Though it isn't completely certain, it seems that we take yet another step towards reigniting the rivalry that once existed between the two. The war has concluded. Madara's rampage has been put to an end, and the powerful Kage has been sealed once more. With their common goal of stopping the great conflict fulfilled and nothing else to focus on, their eyes, once more as they did long ago when they were close rivals, shifted towards each other. They stand where they did long ago when they first parted on their separate paths, this time able to completely understand each other. They both have the title of Hokage in mind, but their ideologies of what to do with the title are drastically different. The same goes for their method of going about reaching the title. Long ago when they were children, they fought simply to decide who was superior, but now, they fight for something far more important. Now the rivalry has been reignited and holds far more weight than it ever has. This final battle between Naruto and Sasuke was to decide the fate of the village, and quite possibly, the entire world. The fight ends without a victor, but at last, Naruto is able to reach Sasuke's heart, and Sasuke finally accepts Naruto's feelings. With their post-battle dialogue, we take a look into what the two always felt when they were with each other, and can now truly understand just how much they meant to each other deep down, even when Sasuke tried to avoid it, and when Naruto could not reach Sasuke. The true nature of the relationship between the two is best described a mirror that took multiple different shapes. When they were together as kids, looking towards each other's backs, the relationship took on the guise of a healthy rivalry. When they separated, it was a focus of their parallel and a comparison of their different paths, and in the end, in its purest form, it was an indicator of the feelings they had always felt for one another. As a relationship that had many different evolutions, it isn't hard to see how people can look at it from many different lenses. But because of this, one can argue that a connection as intricate as this, that comes full circle from almost being broken to being made healthy and whole again, has every right to be labeled that of one of the best rivalries in all of fiction.